Okay, well, welcome everyone to our webinar tonight. It's brought to you by Calgarys Child Magazine in partnership with Professional Parenting Canada. And I'm just going to, now, I have to warn you, all day today, my computer has been misbehaving. So I have been getting the dreaded blue screen. And if it goes out, it's going to go out, but in the last hour it has been okay. So just a heads up that I've tried my best, and that's one reason you really want to talk to your teens, is because they fix your technology. It's absolutely wonderful. So let's hope he fixed it and we can go ahead. So tonight's topic is called Connecting and Communication with Your Teen. My name is Judy Arnall, and I'm a certified family life educator. I teach a lot of parenting classes for the last 18 years around Calgary and across Canada. And I've written 2 books. The first book is about getting calm, and it's called Parenting with Patience, and also getting our children calm. And the second book is called Discipline Without Distress, and it's what you do to solve the problems once everybody is calm. Now, I'm a little bit of a idealist in that I go to conferences, I read research, I read about all the latest recommendations that people tell us to do. But I'm also a mom too, and I'm a realist. So I don't always listen to the recommendations. And as every parent knows, you know your child best. So read the information, take the information in, and decide how it fits with your family, because you are the experts on your children and your family. So my children are range in age from 13 to 24. I have 4 boys and a princess in the middle. So basically, my last one is entering the teen years at 13, and my second last one is pretty well getting to the exit at 17. I think parenting is one of the hardest jobs in the world, and I think every parent should have a tip jar right beside that fridge and hopefully take it to go on a holiday. Now, some housekeeping things. Everybody's muted on webinars, so we don't have to worry about background noise. What I do is I tend to go through the webinar, and then because I do record it, there is sometimes people really want the recording, and I like to keep the questions at the end so they're not on record. If you can't hear, feel free to use a headset. And keep in mind, this webinar is for education purposes. It's not to replace medical advice. Copyrighted 2012. And the information comes from Alberta Health Services, from Parent Effectiveness Training, which is a class that I teach at the University of Calgary Continuing Education. And I just found out last week that Bill Gates's parents took PET, Parent Effectiveness Training, back in the 70s, which was very interesting. It also comes from Positive Discipline in Everyday Parenting, which is a program going across Canada too. So my goal tonight is to enable parents to improve their communication skills with their teens. And you know what? These are communication skills that are not just with teens. They work for every relationship. Believe me, they work really good with partners, mother-in-laws, bosses, neighbors, friends, you name it. They're common communication. They work really well with teens. When kids enter the teen years, there's a lot of red flags to parents that something may be wrong, there may be a problem. It can be the teens are skipping school, they're experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and beyond experimentation. A little bit is normal, but beyond that, when it becomes habitual, it can be a red flag. Promiscuous behavior, depression, anxiety, and criminal activity. A lot of times these issues pop up because of children's mental health as they're heading into the teen years, those kinds of issues, depression, anxiety, learning disorders often present themselves, and teens will cover it up with these symptoms. So it's good for parents to recognize what's going on. So as a parent, you have everything you need to parent teens. You have an ear for listening, a brain for problem solving, and a body for modeling, and to give them hugs. And keep hugging them. Especially dads, keep hugging your girls, because a lot of times dads drop that in the teen years. So teens today, we now have to parent differently than we did 20 or 30 years ago. And that's because so much of teenagers' life is invisible to parents. They're online, they're on the internet. Much of what they do is not on our radar, and we can't see it. Nor can the village that raises a child see it. So we have to keep our communication lines open with teens. And ultimately, it's their decision whether they're going to keep those lines open with us or not. And we can facilitate that happening, but like many things in parenting, we can't force it. I often ask parents in classes, what are the qualities you want in your relationship with your teen? No matter where I ask this, all across Canada and North America, I get the same answers back. This is what parents want. Sharing feelings, mutual admiration and respect, caring both ways, and of course fun, because we all know it, we're not in it for the money. So children and parents, you want to build a good relationship. A lot of parents do want obedience in the teen years, but if it's a trade-off between a great relationship and easy communication and obedience, I would go with the green. Go for the relationship, because the obedience will follow. There are many parenting styles. This kind of shows you where parenting styles fit on an axis. And the two axes are structure and nurturing, and children need both. In structure, or maybe I'll just tell you what these are. Nurturing is expressing unconditional love through kind and encouraging words. It's providing caring, comfort, and attention. It's giving validation to emotions. It's providing non-sexual touch, such as cuddles, kisses, hugs. And expectations on the other axis, or structure, what does that comprise? That is providing for physical, academic, social, and emotional needs, providing an education, allowing age-appropriate decisions, and natural consequences when they're safe. It's guiding, facilitating, mentoring, coaching, and teaching to navigate life situations. It's using the collaborative problem-solving method for all conflicts. It's about setting family rules and limits together and having routines, rituals, and family celebrations. And the big one is, it's still providing supervision and monitoring, even in the teen years. There's often two groups of parents, the hands-off in the teen years and the I'm going to get more control in the teen years. And neither of those are appropriate. So the authoritarian parenting style, that red segment in the northwest corner, that can work a lot of times for young children. It's not the best parenting style, but a lot of parents use it. And it can work until the teen years, when teens start to fight back. The permissive parenting style is often what parents get to at the teen years, where they throw up their hands and say, that's it, I give up. And that's not what teens need either. What they need is more the green zone, where they have some structure but nurturing. And it has to move more from authoritative, which is kind of, I'll ask for your input, but I'll make the decisions, to collaborative, which is, I'll ask for your input, I'll give you my input, and together we'll come to some decisions. So don't forget, you're in the final third of parenting, and start teaching and treating children like the adults they're becoming. So try moving more toward a collaborative parenting style, which involves them and you. So a parent's role here is for younger teens, so we're talking ages 12 to 13, you're still a teacher, but you're moving into more the mentor, the guide on the side, the advisor for the older teens. So you're going to allow them to make a lot of decisions, and they're going to make mistakes. But that's okay. It's still okay for them to make those mistakes because the consequences aren't as bad as when they're on the other side of 18 or 19. And you're going to teach them how to problem solve. So remember, kids are connected to you, they're safe, and they're connected to you and their families. So what's going on in terms of development for the teen years? Jean Piaget is a psychologist back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and a lot of his research is still relevant today, especially in the areas of brain development. For late school-agers, so heading into the tweens, this is what their main developmental tasks are. They're becoming more peer-focused. They're growing out of typical physical toys and more into electronic toys, starting to get a little more attitude and snarkiness, a lot more worries, and definitely becoming self-conscious. As they're moving into early teens, so age 13 to 15, they're becoming really moody, excellent sleepers, especially on the morning side, sometimes impulsive, starting to get interested in sexuality, hormones are kicking. They're becoming abstract learners, so they're starting to learn about abstract ideas that are not black and white. They're becoming interested in adult conversations. They're self-conscious, and this is a time that peer pressure and bullying peaks. Later teens, it's like they're coming out of that tunnel. So the 13 to 15 is a really trying time for parents. They look at their teen and says, what happened to that wonderful child I had? Where late teens, they're really becoming much more cooperative. A lot of them are becoming more academically serious because their friends are starting to think about beyond high school. But this is also a time when a lot of mental health issues erupt. Anxiety, stress, depression. Keep looking for clues for that. They're starting to search for identity, who they're going to be, how they fit in the world. They're solidifying their values apart from family, parents, and trying to see what fits for them. They're becoming more confident, but they still have that little sense of omnipotence in that I can handle anything. Nothing bad will happen to me. So that kind of wraps up what those teenagers are like. There's a new stage of childhood now that we call emerging adults, and that's from age 18 to 25 years, because we know the brain is still developing that prefrontal cortex, which controls the critical thinking, the decision making, the planning, the processing. So during these years, they're still gaining more common sense and becoming less worried about what other people think of them. So what are some parenting pointers for those teen years? First, listening skills. Now this is listening on your part rather than their part. And once you master listening skills, it can transfer to any relationship. What we do as parents is we're often very good at passively listening to children or to other people. So let's say our child didn't get invited to a party and they're having a meltdown. Oftentimes we feel their pain and we want to fix things. When our children are having problems, We want to go in and solve it. We want to fix it. We're going to get on that phone and talk to that other parent. And that is the last thing your teen wants. What your teen wants from you is validation that you understand how they're feeling. That's all they want. They don't want you to march in and solve their problems because they're quite capable of doing that themselves. So how do you validate your children's feelings? Well, this is an interesting skill. We often communicate in terms of our body language, our voice tone, and only about a small portion of what we actually say. So, for example, when we look at our child and we see what they do, we often can tell how they're feeling. Let me show you an example of this. I'm going to play a little video. The great thing about teens, too, is that if you have a good relationship, they will often let you videotape them, which is kind of fun. Now, where is that one? Okay, here we go. Oh, now I can't find it. Oh, dear. Yes, here it is. Here's a teenager just coming home and very angry.
Hi! Hey! Come back down here right now and pick this stuff up!
Now, there's an example of not listening or validating that teen's feelings. So what that parent could have done there was would maybe just let the teen go up to her room and not nag about the backpack at that moment. So give the teen some space when they have problems. Let them calm down and then go upstairs and not speak about the backpack, but validate what you see in terms of body language, voice tone, and words. So say, wow, you looked pretty upset back there. Is there something you want to talk about? That would be validating their feelings. So it goes by many words. It goes by active listening, hearing with heart, empathic listening. All those kinds of things are what it is called. And basically it's just looking at the child's message, looking at the content and feelings, and then sharing what we think we understand that they're feeling. So oftentimes an active listening format goes, you feel, and then name the feeling, and then talk a little bit about the context. What we often do is we give kids roadblocks to what they're feeling, and it shuts down their communication. Let's just do some examples. Okay, so what's going to happen is we have a child here who has a problem, and he's going to tell me what the problem is, and I'm going to respond in terms, first sentence, it will be a roadblock, and the second one will be validation of feelings, and you can hear the difference.
The bus driver yelled at me and everyone laughed.
So what did you do then? Would be a roadblock. But to validate his feelings, I would say, wow, that must have been pretty embarrassing for you when everyone laughed. Here's another one.
I'd like to punch that Michael in the nose.
Now those are strong words. That would be the roadblock. And now the validation feeling would be, whoa, you sound pretty angry at Michael. Do you want to talk about it? Okay, another one.
Just because of a little rain, my teacher said we couldn't go on the field trip. She's dumb.
Now roadblock would be, Don't talk to me about your teacher that way. That's not respectful. But a validation feeling would be, you sound a bit disappointed that you couldn't go on that field trip. And let's do one more.
You love Janice more than me.
Typical roadblock there is, no, I don't. I love you equally. But that does not really get at what a child's feeling. So what I would say to validate their feelings is, you feel I love Janice more than you do? Than you? And thank you. We'll give a big hand to my
Thank you.
to my problem child with the problems there. So that is how you validate feelings. You zero in on what you think that child's feeling, and you feed it back to them in terms of a statement. I think the last one of when kids say, oh, you love so-and-so better than me, is a very common one. And we often want to solve their problems. We want to reassure them, and that's not what helps them at the moment. What helps them is validating what they feel. Now, it doesn't mean you agree with them. It just means you're accepting them at that moment, how they feel. Okay, so at that point, I want to show you a little video about validating feelings for sibling fighting. What I'm going to do is the children are going to fight, and I am going to validate each girl's feelings, and then we'll move into problem solving.
Come on, you've been on at the game all morning. I would really like a turn.
But wait, I'm almost at this level and I'm stuck. Come on, just let me try one more time.
Oh, there's always one more level. Come on, seriously.
Please, just 2 more minutes.
It's always 2 more minutes.
No, come on. I
Oh.
just got on.
Girls, you need help.
Girls, okay, what's happening? She wants the game.
You never listen.
Okay, so you're trying to make another level and you're angry because she wants a turn. Yes, then she demands it. And Gwen, you're a little frustrated because you've been waiting all morning and you want a turn now.
She always ignores me. It's no fair.
Okay, so you're both feeling frustrated and angry. Can we just come up with some solutions to solve this problem? Because you both want to play the game.
We should just turn it off and nobody plays.
Well, we could turn it off. That would be one solution. Can you think of any others?
Well, I could go do something else. And then as soon as you finish the level, you call me and we switch immediately, okay?
Okay, promise I'll give it to you as soon as I get there.
Great.
Well, that's great. I have to go bake cookies. You want to come bake cookies? Sure. Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, so that's a good example of active listening to siblings. What that does with teens is when they are listened to, they're validated by an adult, they get their emotional part out and they calm down faster. What that does is it gets their intellect back, that they can start focusing on solving their problem. And it is a very good relationship builder. If you're not sure of what to say, always start with a feeling word. And if you hit the wrong feeling word, if you get it not quite right, they will correct you. But what that does is it opens them up to talking more and more. If they feel heard and understood, they will come to you and start talking more. So here's a little cheat sheet of if you're sure of the feeling or if you're not sure. Those are kind of some openers. What that does is it gets at the bottomest level of communication, the feelings. Yes, we can small talk to people, and that's kind of at the top level of sharing, but the feelings are what we want to keep for those people we love and connect with. It really helps if you spend some time together. If all our interactions with teens are usually nagging them or talk about school, they need balance. They need more. They want to talk to you about other things besides how they're doing in school. So spending time together with teens is something you almost have to schedule. Get it on the calendar. Make sure it happens. These are some things that teens like to do. I used to call it date night. I would set aside one night a month with my children, and that would just be their night, and we would go out without the siblings. But I can't call it date night anymore, so now I call it lunch day. So now we go for lunch. But even mundane things like doing chores together, cooking, is a good time for children to open up and talk. So that's a good time for you to share your feelings, your insights, your mistakes, and what you've learned as a teen. It builds that relationship. So again, there are many ways to have some time to play. There's research even that shows if you play video games with your children, that is a good bonding exercise too. Now, here comes the most important part. When your children are teens, as much as you can, drop the punishments. Currently across Canada, problem solving is taking over from punishing children in almost all parenting organizations. And what that does is it enhances the communication. Children don't open up and share their feelings with parents who punish them just because they don't feel that trust level there. So oftentimes parents give their children cell phones, laptops, iPads, whatever, in order to take them away to gain cooperative behavior. And yes, they may get cooperative behavior and obedience, but they're not going to get the sharing of feelings and communication. There is no research out there that shows that punishment builds relationships. There's lots of research that shows that it can detract from building relationships. Yet, back to there, that 85% of parents still punish. Typical teen punishments are taking away privileges, grounding, taking away electronics. Yes, there's still some parents who spank, and the new one is internet shaming. And all of those are not appropriate for the teen years. Here are some factors of punishment. It can destroy communication, emotional connection between parent and child, the child's willingness to get help. When children are bullied at school, they often don't want to go to their parents because they think or they know or they wonder if parents are going to take away the cell phones and computers. And that's often a very first reaction from parents. So the child deals with the bullying by themselves and often can't. So they need to access parents' help. It can destroy children's ability to learn and your influence. And your influence is more powerful than your control because it goes with the child even when you're not around. It's that little voice in their ear that says, wonder what my mom would want me to do. Wonder what dad would think of that. So definitely, parent authority has changed from 20, 30 years ago when I was raised, and it's because we're taking that fear out of the relationship. Like I said, a lot of children's interactions nowadays with the world is under parents' radar, and those communication lines have to be open so when children need help, they can get help from parents. Okay, so The big thing about that is when we're angry at our children, separate our anger from our discipline. So if we're calm down and we're thinking about things, we can make much better decisions and get into problem solving with our children. And don't worry, you're not going to be a parent they can walk all over. You still have credit cards, the bank account, and the car keys. You can decide what you will do, not what you're going to make your child do, but what you're going to do in every situation. And don't freak out. You can't be closed in one area of parenting and expect openness and communication, because children do not compartmentalize their feelings with parents. If you have a warm, loving relationship, they're going to communicate. Okay, so what is problem solving? Problem solving is basically you and the teen looking at both your needs. So looking at your needs, looking at their needs, coming up with some ideas together, and then choosing the idea that makes both the needs happen. And then you put it into place and check back. We often problem solve with our partners, with our bosses at work. When I teach classes, dads say, oh, I problem solve at work all the time. And yet they don't think to bring it home to their children, because somehow negotiation has become an 11-letter bad word in parenting. And yet in relationships, negotiation is essential. We need to teach children how to negotiate at an earlier age than when they leave home at 18. Part of declaring your needs is the other half of communication. And we do that in terms of an I message. Oftentimes we choose you messages, and you messages are very blameful. You never pick up your clothes. You always come home late. You never tell me where you're going. Who can react nicely to that? When you share it in terms of an I message, you're not blaming the other person. You're sharing your reality. I feel worried when I'm not told where you're going because I think I might get a phone call about you in trouble later. Or I really get frustrated stepping over clothes on the floor because I'm afraid I might slip and fall. So you're just sharing how you feel, what the behavior is, and the effect on you, because oftentimes children don't know the effect on you. So you share it in terms of an I message. And yes, they may get a little defensive, but that's okay. You can listen to that and then send your confrontive I message again. It is better if you send all three parts: your feeling, the behavior, and the effect on you. And that can start you problem solving. Oftentimes children talk, they have I messages too, but they shroud it in attitude. So we need to teach them the language of assertiveness. So on the left are attitude statements that we commonly hear from our teens. On the right are I messages they need to learn that really says what they're feeling. So when a teenager says to you, "You're not my boss," what they're really saying is, "I'd like more of a choice here." When they're saying, "I'll do what I want," what they're saying is, "I need to try and be an adult." So oftentimes when teens are giving you attitude statements, say, "You know what? That's not a statement I'm going to listen to. Here, try it this way." Try saying it in terms of an I message. And oftentimes kids, you're teaching them a real life skill of assertiveness, because I messages are the most respectful way ordinary, regular people use in life to assert their needs. It's used in the workplace, it's used in relationships, and children need to learn it. The teen years are a good time. One time my daughter was rolling her eyes at me, and I don't get that too often, but the time she did, I said, "What is that about?" And she looked at me and said, "Mom, that's my iMessage." So I thought that was kind of cute. Okay, so like I said, why problem solve? Well, problem solving is not me against you. It's us working together against the problem. And like I said, as children grow older, your control lessens. You can't control them. You can when they're at birth. You can dress them how you want, take them wherever you want. They see whoever you see. But around age 2 here, you're starting to lose a bit of control. And about age 9, you're losing about half your control because your child's becoming more capable and able to do and get things themselves. And oftentimes that's when parents lose their outcomes of their punishments and their rewards, because as children become more capable, they don't need reliance on those things anymore. But if you listen with validation and you assert your needs with iMessages and you problem solve every conflict that comes up, your influence increases as the child grows with age and respect, and that will stay with your child all the time. For example, when my son moved to Newfoundland for university, he was across the country. At 18, the law says, I have no control over him anymore. And I didn't really, but I still had a lot of influence. And he would call me once in a while and say, "Mom, what do you think of this?" Or, "What should I do in this case?" He wouldn't always take my advice, but I knew what I said mattered, and he would think about things over and over. So I had plenty of influence. So control moves to influence in respectful relationships. Okay, so children work to get their needs met. And if we say no a lot, they're going to go underground to get their needs met. And that's another reason why you want to problem solve, is get their needs out on the table. I'm moving ahead of here. I want to show you another video. Sometimes the best discipline tool for teen girls is go for a coffee or a hot chocolate and talk. Best discipline tool for boys, I found a pair of runners. So when we had an issue, we would grab the runners and say, "Hey, let's go for a walk and talk." And it's good because they don't have to make eye contact, you get exercise, and oftentimes just the movement gets the conversation flowing. Okay, here's another reason you want to problem solve. It's good for future employment. What employers want now are children who have critical thinking, problem-solving skills at work, just even more than technical skills. They want to see collaboration and teamwork, and which better way to practice that in the family? And they want to see communication skills. So, every parenting problem has a non-punitive solution. And in the teen years, that's all you need to do is problem solving. Another point is to use human touch, as I mentioned before, and model and share your boundaries. Now, don't worry, you're going to have lots of conversations with your teens over a period of many years. It's not going to be just one conversation. Lots and lots. And generally, research shows kids get about 75% of their parents' values over a lifetime. So that's a good thing. Okay, so I want to show you an example of punishment versus problem solving. What does that look like? What is different? So I'm going to play a video here. It's kind of about 8 minutes long, so it's a bit of a longer one, but it's a good way to show you, sorry, where is it? Here we go. Oh yes, okay. So 15-year-old Jenny set up a social media profile against her mother's wishes.
Jenny, can you come here for a minute?
What, Mom?
Jenny, I'm on my social networking site, and it seems here you have a profile set up.
Oh, yeah, about that.
Jenny, didn't we agree that you were too young to have a profile and that you were going to wait?
But, Mom, everyone at school has one.
Jenny, if all the kids at school jump off a cliff, would you jump too? Jenny, you have chosen by your actions to have your computer taken away for a week. You broke our agreement.
But, Mom, you don't understand. I feel so left out when all my friends are talking about the photos or the comments on their site.
Yes, but we had an agreement, Jenny, and we have consequences. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I hate you. I'm just going to go to Allie's house and play on her computer.
So that is consequences. Now the same situation but with problem solving.
Jenny, could I have a minute with you?
Yeah, Mom?
Jenny, I'm working on my social networking site, and I noticed that you have a profile on here.
Oh, yeah, about that.
Jenny, didn't we agree that you were too young to have a profile and we were going to wait a year?
But, Mom, everyone at school has one.
So it's important to you to have one?
Yeah.
Well, why do you really want a profile?
Because I think it'd be a great way to connect with my friends outside of school.
So you feel left out if you don't have one?
Yeah.
And out of the communication loop?
Yeah.
Well, Jenny, we had an agreement that you weren't going to have one, but I can see that this is important to you. So why don't you pull up a chair and we'll talk about it?
Okay.
Okay? Okay, I can see this is really important to you. So let's brainstorm some ideas and see what we can come up with to solve this problem, okay?
Okay.
Okay? So what is it about the social networking sites that you like? What do you want to do on there?
I like communicating with my friends after school.
Okay, but I have some needs too.
What bothers you about social networking sites?
I guess my main concern is about privacy. You can post pictures on there and they will still be there. They can be copied and people can find you and people you don't want to find you can find you.
I see.
So I really worry about that because it could affect you 10 years down the road. So let's come up with some options that will meet your needs for communicating, but also my needs for privacy, okay?
Okay.
Okay? So I was thinking one of my needs is that you don't post photos.
But photos are a big part of it.
Okay, so we're just brainstorming here. So I'm going to write that down as one of my needs. What are some of your needs? What would you like? The other concern I have is that I don't want you to use your real name.
But how will my friends find me?
Well, you can tell them who you are on there, and they will find you because you have given them your name. So we're just writing down ideas now. We're not going to evaluate them, okay?
Okay.
Okay. I have one. How about we just have more sleepovers instead and we don't use this social networking site?
No way, but you can write it down.
Thanks. Okay. So how about you can post photos but no tags on them?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
And I would have to approve them first.
Okay.
Okay. And okay. So do you have any other ideas?
No.
No? Okay, well, let's go through these. Okay, so if you post photos and no photos of drinking or their bodies or anything, okay, and no tags, would you agree to that?
Yeah, I agree.
And I would approve them first. That would work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And no names? Would you agree to just using your first name but not your real last name?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Does that sound reasonable? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm good with that. And would you agree to just having sleepovers and we'll forget this whole thing?
No.
Not going to work for you. Okay, well, all right. Okay, so would that work then? That would take care of my needs. Would that take care of your needs?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've agreed to photos, I approve, no tags on them, and you use your first name but not your last name. Oh, one more thing. Could you give me a tour around the site so I can look at the settings and things?
All right, I'll show you the safety features it's got.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay, so I hope next time, if you have a problem and you want to do something on the internet, can you come to me and we can talk about it and solve it so it meets both our needs?
Yeah, I think I will.
You think you can do that? So we can agree to meet again in 2 weeks and we'll fine-tune anything that's not working?
Okay.
Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for talking to me today, okay?
Okay, thanks, Mom.
Okay, and that is how we do problem solving. So we validate the child's feelings and then come up with some ideas on how to resolve the problem. I do have a little worksheet here that I can show you that we can use. So oftentimes if it's a problem that it's kind of on the go, we just write it on a whiteboard in our kitchen and say, okay, we'll talk about it later. Let's just get out the door. We'll discuss it later. And that's where you want to go on the walk and talk or the Timmy's coffee and sit down and actually talk about it. So we often use this template and we write down what our needs are, we validate our child's needs, and then we come up with some ideas. Now it helps if you get the child's ideas first, because if you start, like in the movie, if I start giving ideas first, then it kind of shuts the child down. So if you let them give ideas and you write them down and really truly consider them, you'll get that child's buy-in more into the process and they'll continue problem solving. So then once you've brainstormed all these ideas, then you go through each one and say, no, that one's not going to work for me. No, that one's not going to work for you. Okay, scratch that one off. And you come through and you will get one or two that actually work. And then you write it down and then stick it on the wall. I often do that. That's our agreement. And yep, they may not like it through the week, but that's our agreement until we sit down and rehash it again if it's not working for people. So that is the problem-solving template. I just want to talk another thing that you can do with teens is back here, kind of jumped over it a bit. It's called a one-time consultation, and it's really effective for things where it's a values issue. Let's say your child started smoking or they have a messy room and it doesn't really affect you, but you can't stand it. I did this with my son. He wanted to wear a Hitler Halloween costume to school one day when he was 15. And I didn't quite agree with that. And I thought, okay, so what I did was you get hired. So I said to him, do you think you could spend like half an hour with me and just sit down and I could share what my views on that costume and what I think might not be a good idea about it? And then you get their agreement and then you present your case and then you let it go. So you have to let it go or else it becomes nagging. But what you've done is you've given them your information, your perspective, your experience for them to make an informed decision. And that is really helpful. I have another video I can show you of what this looks like in action because it's a really powerful tool when you're dealing with teens because they have all kinds of values that they don't really look to, like they don't see the end result. So this is called a one-time consultation.
You know, Mom, I want to get a huge tattoo on my shoulder, like my character in a computer game.
I'm not so sure that's a good idea.
It would look so great, Mom.
What would you say if we got together and maybe you could give me an hour of your time, we could go for coffee, and I could share with you how I'm feeling about that, some of the pros and cons of getting a tattoo or not getting a tattoo. And look, I promise, if you do that, I won't bring it up again.
Okay, Mom. You promise that if I sit and really listen to you for an hour, you'll let the subject drop?
Yes, if you let me share some information with you on this, I trust at 16 you can make good decisions for yourself.
When should we do it?
How about Thursday? Thursday at 7. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yep. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that's a one-time consultation, and it's really, really helpful for those areas that are kind of value areas. Definitely things we want to kind of influence them with, but can't tell them what to do. Okay, so we're approaching an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. So remember, you aren't going to lose control of your teen. Absolutely, everybody does. But that doesn't mean they're going to throw away your good counsel, your experience, your advice. It means that your influence is going to grow. But it grows if you drop punishments and you start problem solving, especially in that last third of parenting. So don't worry, parents matter. Even more than peers, research from Dr. Bibby on Canada's teens show that parents are still the #1 influence in their lives. So if you're looking for more information, there's a lot of good programs out there. The Parent Effectiveness Training, if you can get your handle on a book, I'm not too sure it's offered in each city, but it is in Calgary. I teach at the University of Calgary in the fall. And other good books are Hold On to Your Kids by Gordon Neufeld, Positive Discipline in Everyday Parenting by Joan Durant, and of course my books. But yeah, and the good thing is when you got teens, they do things for you. This is my husband's corporate photograph. And obviously the team made that because we don't know how, but it kind of shows you teens are valuable, right? You want to stay on their good side. So that's about it. So if you have any questions that you don't want to ask tonight, feel free to email me later on this week. And at this point, I'm going to just shut off the recording. And yeah, I hope that this was helpful to you. And thank you for joining us. We're here every third Thursday of the month. So next month's webinar is September 17th, Thursday again, third Thursday of the month, 8 o'clock. And our topic then is discipline for all age groups. So if you haven't signed up, feel free to do that. And thank you for coming. It was great to well, not talk to you, but great that you could come. So I'm going to turn off the recording and we'll go to